Isle of Anglesey. Now we're actually looking at the east side of Anglesey from here, and more or less directly opposite us we've got Bentley Bay. Now it does stretch a lot more to the right than what we can see clearly this afternoon. You can just about see the outline of it, and the furthest tip to the right, well, that's Amloch. Holyhead's round the other side of the island. Now you can also see a little island out there, and that is known as Puffin Island. And the only living thing you'll find on Puffin Island are the birds puffins, of course. But at one time there was quite a number of rats on the island, and it was estimated at that time that there must have been at least 10,000 of them on the island. Now the problem was that those rats were feeding off the eggs from the puffins. But they did manage to get rid of the rats. They fed them and put something in their food to stop them reproducing, so they actually died off naturally. So at the moment the puffins have got the island back to themselves. And Anglesey is also known as Mam Cymru, Mother of Wales. Now on your left, you'll notice a little stone road. We're just coming up towards it now. Well, this was the furthest distance road by the Royal Air Force in 1940, and it was to make easy access for them to get up to a site which was being used as a radar station during the Second World War. And this part of the Great Orme, well, this is known as Hornby Cove, and it was named after the brig Orme, which sat across this point on New Year's Day 1824, and it took down with it £50,000 worth of silver bullion. Now there's all sorts of rumours about the bullion. Some people even say it's still down there. But there was only one survivor off the brig Hornby, and that was the lookout by the name of John Williams. He was actually thrown off the ship onto the rocks below, and he managed to clamber over them, and he ended up in the Tîgwyn copper mines where he raised the alarm. But by the time the help arrived, the Hornby had gone. So John Williams settled here then in Llandudno, and he ended up working in the Tîgwyn copper mines. There's another view of Anglesey and Puffin Island for you. And looking at Anglesey from this point, you would actually think it was joined to the mainland, but of course it's separated by the famous Menai Straits. And looking directly ahead of us to the other side of the water, we can see a village which is known as Dwygyfylchi. And to the right of that, there's a town by the name of Penmaen Mawr. The Prime Minister, William Gladstone, he had a holiday home there in Penmaen Mawr. He was a regular visitor to Llandudno. Just off this point, in August 1915, two German submarines kept a rendezvous to pick up 3 German officers who escaped from a prisoner of war camp in Denbighshire. After 3 nights, the submarines left without the officers. The officers were actually hiding around another part of the Great Orme. They then walked back down into the town and gave themselves up to the local police. And looking down to your right at this very large grassy area here, now during the Second World War, This was used as a coastal artillery training area. If you would have been standing here then, looking down at the training area, you would have actually thought you were looking down at a village. It was designed to look like that, so any planes coming over, the pilots automatically thought that it was just a little Welsh village at the side of the mountain. And they had a wooden target, and they would tow the target way out into the middle of the water, and they would then fire mortars at it. And it was said at the time that when those mortars went off, that the whole of Llandudno used to shake. And the guns they used were nicknamed Big Berthas. From interview directly ahead of us, we're looking at the Conway estuary. Now we've got Llandudno directly ahead of us, and Conway's on the other side of the river on the right. Now we can just about see the bridges going over to Conway, and normally from this point you can usually see a little bit of Conway Castle. A little bit misty over Conway this afternoon. Conway Castle, it was built between 1283 and 1287, and it was built by Edward I, and that was at an estimated cost of £15,000. Edward I built all the castles along the North Wales coast. And looking directly ahead of us towards Llandudno, now those very large grassy mounds you can see above it, well, that is known as the Bardre, and that used to be occupied by the Welsh when Edward I was the other side of the river occupying Conway. And looking directly ahead of us again towards Conway, where we can see the beginning of the Conway River snaking its way towards Llanwrwst, Betws-y-Coed and Snowdonia. Now I'm going to pull up along here for a few moments for you. If you want to have a look down to your right at the houses down there, you're looking at what's known as Millionaire's Road. Now we've had Sir Cliff Richard owning a property here in the past, also Neville Southall, the ex-Everton Wales goalkeeper. Quite welcome to stand up and have a look over, quite safe for you to do so. Pick which one you like best. Now if you can see that tower, which is on the beachfront there, a little bit ahead of us at the moment. Now the house which is directly behind that, it's got the grey roof and the white walls, just coming up towards it now. Well, this particular property was built by a local builder, and he also built the tower. And that tower has got a lift in it. You just walk in, press the button, down you go, you're on the beach. Now there is normally a little bridge that goes over to the tower. I have noticed that the bridge has gone. And I'll be telling you a bit about the shape of this property in a few moments. Very unusual shape. Now if you can see this very large house we're approaching now, the one with the tennis court behind it. Now the house next to that, nearest to us, well, that was the property that was once owned by Sir Cliff Richard. It's very similar shape to the house of the tower behind it, and you'll get a nice view of it in a few moments when we got past the trees. It is actually hidden behind the trees there at the moment. Very good, just coming into view now. Looks like two houses joined together, and there is some children's playing equipment right at the very back of it. Now this property and the property with the tower behind it, they were both built to this shape to try and catch the sun in the morning and in the afternoon. That was the idea behind it. And the very large house next to it, the one with the tennis court, well, that's the house which Neville Southall, the ex-Everton and Wales goalkeeper, used to live in. And at that time, that property belonged to Everton Football Club. And as for the tennis court, I've never ever seen it in use. It is a bit overgrown, I suppose. That's out for show. Now then, moving along again. Now if you look directly ahead of us to the side of the mountain here, there is a footpath. Now you can just about make it out, about halfway along it. You can just about see the line of it. Well, this is known as Monk's Path. There's a nice little story to this, that the monks used to walk from the bishop's palace, which I'll show you the remains of in a few moments, and these come onto this footpath and then go on to St. Tudno's Church. And they say now that the grass along this footpath always stays green, even on a drought, because of the holy feet once trodden upon it. And looking back down to your right, at this large building we're just coming up to, the one with the two turrets on it, well, this is known as the Old Abbey. Now, this was built in 1895 as a family home, but in 1950 it was turned into a convalescent home for the Railway Union, and it remained as that until about 8 years ago when it closed down. And this building today, well, it is in fact a holiday accommodation for the Jewish Orthodox community. This is a lovely building, and it's got beautiful lawns around it. And when it was a convalescent home, we often used to see him playing bowls down there in the nice weather. Must have been a lovely place to convalesce in its day. Just got to mount the pavement along here, let a car come through. It's quite safe. It's light up as we go up.